And now I would like to give floor to the next speaker. His name is INTS, and the rest will be dealt by himself. Hello.
This part is called Technologies and Accessibility of Health and Environment for Creation of Inclusive Society. Today I am going to talk about the game changer, namely computers and internet. Before this conference, I entered a web page of Mongolian government. Everything is in Mongolian. Imagine if I've entered the Mongolia house 100 years ago, I would have left like that, because I don't understand Mongolian and they don't understand Latvian. But today I can enter their web page, and with some clicks of a mouse I can translate the text that interests me, and I can read everything that's written there, everything. Fantastic. Huge opportunities provided by IT technologies. We can learn all the knowledge of the world using internet. We can visit virtually foreign lands. We can communicate within seconds. We can see each other. Even on the other side of the world. Wonder of wonders. Similar, we can help people with disabilities. If a person is blind, technologies can read the text in a voice, or if a person has hearing impediments, technologies can place subtitles for that person on a picture. Fantastic things. But there are things that we cannot solve with technologies, and that is the content that we create. And for the sake of which, and for the reason of which, we become disabled very often, and the word is the word's origin comes from Latin, invalidus, not able. So at that moment I am unable. I am INTS BALODIS. I am from state service. We also are the managers of Latvia LV portal, and initial title of my presentation is that we are all disabled. Why such a loud title? And I will tell you about two problems that cannot be solved by technologies. And those problems will be closely linked with inclusive design in its broader sense, because very often we understand only the visual part, but we have to also understand the design of how it works, not how it looks. Namely, that if we write something and our audience cannot understand most of the terms that we've used, then most probably we will not include the society. That will not be an inclusive society. An example, a 5-year-old boy eats an apple and looks at the apple, and the apple turns brown in time. And he asks his father, "Dad, why is this apple turning brown?" And the father explains, when you bite an apple, you damage his protective coat, and there's a chemical element in it, ferrum, which reacts with oxygen, thus turning apple brown. And the child looks around and says, Dad, whom did you just talk to? He didn't understand anything. He understood just the two words that he initially said, brown and apple. Nothing, he didn't understand oxidation, chemicals, atmosphere, ferrum, etc. So the father spoke in vain. So if you don't want to push away this part of the society, be simple, speak in a simple manner, because sometimes we write something down and no one can understand what we wanted to say by it. We read regulations that inaccessibility should be ensured. That's why we create special regimes for people with special needs, and we work with those issues, and the result is achieved. Now they don't understand anything. Now you don't understand anything, those who read. Beforehand, the disabled with them, now we all are disabled, and we are no longer inclusive society. Inclusive society should have thought about everything. And good communication is very, very essential. If we will speak in a plain and clear way, it will be beneficial for everyone, and there are no technical solutions. Speak in a simple way. Let's imagine you, without a medical education, go to a doctor, and the doctor is telling you your immune suppression has been weakened, or coronal angiography, or some other words. For you, it will mean nothing. If the doctor will announce that you have this or that disease in Latin, and without any explanation, you most probably will not be able to understand what's wrong with you. Most probably, you will encounter obsessive-compulsive disorders by being worried that you don't understand the doctor. The only thing we want is to understand your doctor. So be simple and speak in a simple manner. Or let's say you call an IT guy and tell them what's wrong with your computer, and he or she is telling you to enlarge the white state and zoom into whatever. Are we going to feel threatened or feel that we are foolish? If neurosurgeon is the other part talking to you, or the surgeon is the one talking to the IT specialist, he's by no means stupid. He knows his area, but the IT specialist knows his area. But the problem is the communication. Speak simple. Speak in a manner as if you spoke to your child. And if he or she understands, then your communication is successful. Second problem will be similar. Unknown situations, not unknown terms. Imagine, again, that you, for example, go visiting a palace or a huge house, and you are sitting in a summer garden, and it's getting darker, and the host tells you, go and switch on the light here in the terrace. The task is simple, because we every day switch on lights tens of times. We know how to do that. We know it only when we know where the switch is. When we are at home, or when we are in small premises. But when we are in a huge estate where everything is strange, we don't know where should we go. and where should we look for the switch? And most probably the easier would be if the host would have said, enter the door, and to your right there is a panel, and above it there are two switches, and switch on the right one, not the left one. That would have been easier, but that's what we do. We make all kinds of electronical service, and we behave as if our client knew everything that we know. In September this year, the advisor of State President, Ieva Ilvese, wrote the following article, The Jungle of Digital Services of the State, and she describes her different way how she could reach some reliefs in her electric bills. Thanks to that information, I decided to enter into the journey and apply for benefits or from some discounts for electricity tariffs. Also, in order to make sure that everything that our state services provide for or promise can be reached. So on all this article goes about that. And the solution is the following, or the outcome is the following. At the end, she had to call a service and get directions manually, which box she had to tick and where she had to write this or that information. And by no means this woman was stupid. And some years ago, I wanted to make an experiment, and this experiment is still ongoing for more than 3 years with rather good success. I created my own YouTube channel, also a Facebook page, where I published self-made videos on technology usage. I do that during my leisure time for my private money. You are asking why? And by your money, because then no one can press a means of communication that I assume to be inefficient. I can do whatever I want, and I also can receive feedback, to read comments and to try to understand my viewers better, because feedback is very important for communication. I don't understand why, for example, some of the state service web pages doesn't allow comments, not to receive criticism. Why? I think criticism or critique is the best how you can get better. I listen, I understand this criticism. I can imagine why it's not the case, but that's something different. That's the different issue. I just wanted to tell you that simple communication is indeed in need. And now I can prove it with figures. With my experience, I would like to share it. And thanks to our agency, I can talk to you from this conference. And I can repeat yet again and again, speak in simpler words, speak simpler, and try to understand the needs of the receivers, of your customers. Look at the service that you offer from their perspective. It is difficult. I'm not talking about state sector only. It is also valid for private sector, but because it's difficult to look at from afar or from a different angle at your service. But it's very necessary. If we don't understand our client, we cannot offer them what we want. With the support of the agency, we are looking through all e-services accessible through Latvia LV, and we give the recommendations how to make their accessibility better. Whether all state agencies observe our suggestions? No, but those who take what we say into account will get better results. The services will be better. I could talk for hours about that, but I wanted to summarize what my suggestions are. First of all, look at the service from the perspective of your client. What is the problem that you would like to solve, and start this communication from that point. Second, give an overall perspective to the client. Explain how your service fits into overall picture and what is directly linked with that service that you provide, what the client should know, and that also should be communicated shortly and clearly, not by quoting several pieces of legislation, several regulations. And third, speak in a simple way. Don't use difficult terms. Let's remember that most part of us, especially those working in the state sector, our clients are all our inhabitants. And if we want to offer them service, keep those principles on your desk, and you don't now have to have additional financial impetus to observe my 3 suggestions, and we will be able to help each other better, independently of whether we physically can do it or not. And this is the way how we can make our society more inclusive. Be simple, or simpler. Thank you very much. I hear that you always don't like those digital voices that you hear when calling a service provider. That's why I will ask you directly. First, what I noticed, City Council itself, and now all the dependent agencies, as well as web pages of agencies and ministries, and you are working in an agency, how to become closer. They have introduced an audio program that can help to read to a person with visual disabilities. Maybe these technologies are very expensive. Why did we have to wait for so long? And why it happened? Maybe it is in vogue now. Another example, when Lithuanian president had surdo interpreter next to him, then already next time Latvian president also had one, and you can see that we have surdo interpretation. So do we have to have some urge from afar, from a side? Do we have to take an idea from Norway? How this process is occurring? I have only idea, but you do know how to do that. How far and how long does it take to implement an idea? Probably you have good ideas, but you tire of all the obstacles that are created. Human initiatives, how do they materialize in products and services? I will start with what you said about automatic recorded voices. The fact that there is no synthesized voice or unhuman voice, these technologies are rather difficult, and it's not so horrible, I think. You're irritated more by legal restrictions that no one cares about, that due to article this and that, something is going to be recorded, but you can do it shortly, in short words. our conversation is going to be recorded, but not where the data is going to be kept and who is the responsible person. So I don't believe that most of the society or majority of the society is interested in where their data is being kept. So we shouldn't make lives of 90% of people more difficult in order to comfort the needs of 10%. So if we are being pressed by or obliged by some restrictions and requirements that you have to have mandatory ramp or mandatory this and that, we will not make an inclusive society. We will just take our stance and do only what is required for ticking the boxes, for the sake of ticking the boxes. But at the moment when we start honoring each other and respect each other, only then we will reach inclusive society. And by the way, now we are already divided society. But it should happen today. It should happen today after this conference to have an inclusive society. But thank you very much, INTS, for your impetus. And it gives us, again, a new idea or a new